Hey and welcome, I'm Hammeh, and as the Art of Overwatch, Overwatch's chunky new art book has just been released, I'm going to zip through some of the art from it with just 10 cool facts it shares about the development of Overwatch and the histories of the characters we know and love. Now, I'd originally started filming a video going through the book page by page. That would have turned out to be about an hour and a quarter long, so maybe I'll release a shortened version of that in future if you're interested in flicking through it. It's an awesome book. Dark Horse Comics publish it, a chunk of cool comics that they do. You can get a bunch of free ones on their site too. Okay, let's get stuck into the cool stuff. Cool fact number 1, Ana was based on a hero originally called the Alchemist. Concept art and a detailed backstory existed for Ana even before the game team made her into a playable hero, but they found it difficult to add her to the game because Widowmaker already fulfilled the sniper role. The Alchemist was a prototype character who used potions to harm enemies and heal allies to make Ana the unique hero that she is today. In Ana's section of the art book, there's also this really sweet image by John Polidora, who did the Sombra BlizzCon art from last year and has done a bunch of art on Overwatch, including several of the cute spray designs. We see Ana teaching a young Pharah how to shoot a sniper rifle, and it's one of the several exclusive, never before seen cool bits of art that you can see in this book. Next up, Deva originally had a cat logo that was changed to a bunny, as apparently it reflected her hop or flying short distance ability better. You can see this in some of the art I show here. Deva was also meant to be a bit younger, but the devs made her older to make her a bit more intimidating. Several of the art pieces you see here explores a very industrial feel for Deva and her mech, and some of these designs actually look like mechs that have ended up in the scrapyard in Junkrat. Another interesting little Deva related tidbit: in the We Are Overwatch cinematic intro, Deva is seen fighting the giant kaiju style Omnic that threatens Korea from the China Sea every so often. Now Deva could be actually fighting that Omnic in Seoul itself. In the background of this art used as a basis for constructing these pieces of animation, the art book in the commentary specifically calls out the En Seoul Tower as being barely visible in the background. Now this is a big landmark in Seoul, it's the second highest point and is a big tourist attraction. So unless Deva is actually fighting the mech on the river that goes through Seoul in this, because it looks as though they're fighting on water, maybe that was removed just for time reasons. They're very short clips in that particular trailer, so it's probably hard to see detail. But it's an interesting thought if this mech, or this kaiju mech, got to the very middle of Korea itself. Next up, Hansa and Genji were originally one character. Now the devs experimented with getting a lot of different ninja style themes into one hero, and you can see in this art that there are so many different themes of early assassin concepts here. Bows, swords, all kinds of weapons, and trying to fit them into one hero was too much, which is why these concepts were split out into Hansa and Genji. I also love this particular piece of art of Genji with a bow. Imagine Genji with his current kit and firing scatter arrow. That sounds to me like the opposite of fun, so it's probably a good idea that he did get split out in the end. Number 4, Junkrat originally had an ult that was a giant missile. The devs thought that this was visually confusing during gameplay, so it got switched to Riptire instead. Junkrat himself went through a bunch of iterations, including him being in a kind of bomb disposal style suit, as well as his origin. He was eventually settled on as being Australian with the Junkers, but he has been designed also as potentially in the past being part of Los Muertos. Number 5, Lucio originally had turntables on his hips of his suit and equalizer pants or trousers that would light up as he played music. Now the devs thought that this would be a bit visually distracting in gameplay. It sounds so cool, but I can kind of understand why that got tweaked. His giant frog symbol is based on the giant monkey frog, a resident of the Amazon basin. Did you know that McCree originally had Starcraft roots? He was based on an old Starcraft illustration by Chris Metzen, right down to his Banff buckle. Prospector Logan was an example of a character in the Starcraft universe, the human race in the Starcraft universe, the Terrans way out in the Caprulu sector. At points were going and terraforming and colonising planets and looking for resources. Terran prospectors were people who would go to new planets and worlds and kind of claim them almost in a colonial kind of way, whilst checking them for resources. While we're on the M's, I'll just jump into this picture of May. Now she had this really kind of sharp survivalist look, and the devs actually wanted more sort of lighter toned characters, so this is why May was kind of iterated into the character that we see today. Now I love these old concepts of May. I think this character would have been really cool, but I equally love the May that we have at the moment. You can completely see why, with this kind of look, with this kind of more angular look, that she looks a more serious survival based character. And also one of the devs' concerns was that her two-handed weapon that she had in various concepts would make her look a little bit too similar silhouette wise to Zarya. Number 7, covered other places already, Mercy was male in early concepts. Now, lots of people have talked about this, I'll leave that conversation for elsewhere, but I will say that having looked through the Art of Overwatch book, a lot of characters in early stages in concepting seem to be done both as male and female in terms of their look, their silhouette, and various things in their character development. Farah, for example, had various male iterations and scopes, and also Tracer as well. Just want to call out these really sweet different alternative arts and concepts below. These have got Mercy as more of a battle medic in terms of just the colour palette, the duller, the less shiny, the less white and gleaming kind of colours. I quite like it actually. It sort of feels like a character that could be in the middle of a battlefield with the darker grey and kind of camo coloured palettes to suit. Next up, Reinhardt could have been from Africa. One of his early versions was an African hero, a design that was called Wildebeest with tribal motifs. And we see some of these around the art of what I've called before Big Red. In Recall we see him, and in the early concept or lineup art. Now I speculated before the game release that maybe this could be Soundquake, a character with chest missiles, or so we're led to believe from the Overwatch introduction cinematic, but we now know this to be an iteration of Reinhardt. Now, Soundquake could still exist in the future with his chest missiles. I still believe I'd love to see that character. It's interesting also that some of these wildebeest tribal motifs around the armour kind of get used again as a theme in Orisa, if you have a look at her different kind of shapes, arts and patterning she has over her armour. Number 9, Soldier 76 existed before Overwatch. Now, years before Overwatch was even in development, Chris Metzen, Blizzard's previous Senior Vice President of Story and Franchise Development, he's had a hand in a bunch of Blizzard stories, including the Starcraft story and more. He made a character that had also been in a short comic book story. Now, I've actually reviewed that comic and story in the video below if you'd like to see Soldier 76 and his life before Overwatch. The link is in the description as well. Changes from Metzen 76 through to the Overwatch 76 included outfitting him with weapons, devices and armour that was more of a different technology level seen in Overwatch's near future. His face was also covered because he was this masked vigilante. And last but not least, Sombra was originally Japanese. Originally a character called Omniblade, a Japanese woman with a love of street fashion and throwing daggers apparently. Each blade would produce a different effect, such as revealing the location of enemies on other parts of the map. Now, her abilities then got moved partially to Genji and Hanzo, that revealing enemies a feature of course of Sonic Arrow, but she wasn't forgotten and her abilities were reformed into the Mexican hacker Sombra. There we go, 10 cool facts for you. There's loads of little tidbits of really interesting information and background and context into the Overwatch heroes. If you like your art, if you like your big chunky coffee table style books, I'd definitely consider this if you can grab it. There's loads of cool art in there and concepts and things as well, so well worth a look if you can. Cheers for watching. Throw a like or subscribe. Do comment in the comments below. Let me know the most interesting facts. If you've got the book, what do you think of it? I'd love to hear from you. For more Overwatch lore, story, news, voice lines, interactions, and everything to do behind Overwatch's story and world, please do check out the playlists linked here. Cheers for tuning in. I've been Hammeh. Take it easy.